Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Eden. In this video, I'll talk about how to be more original in life that could be relatable to that. It can be relatable to content. It can be relatable to what niche that you want to try and find. Whatever area you're trying to be more original in. There's something that I learned from Jordan B. Peterson, the Canadian psychologist. He's one of the people that I look up to a lot in my life. And one of the biggest things he taught me, or taught a lot of people, was when you're navigating your words and what you want to say, when you're articulating and thinking about your navigation of conversation, he says to obviously think before you speak, but as if you're kind of stepping on stones in a pond and you're unsure if that stone is the right word, but you still take the step regardless, and you're unsure if this is the right word for the next part of the sentence, but you take the step and you kind of cautiously take your steps throughout your conversation, throughout your explanation of whatever you're talking about. That creates a more thoughtful, progressive way of thinking. And what it does is when someone asks you a question, and this is something that he's talked about, when someone asks you a question, they say, "Are you happy?" And it could be a simple answer as in, "Yeah, I'm fine." Or it could be a very in-depth answer as in you genuinely ask yourself, and you sit there for a second, you ask yourself, "Am I happy?" And you might ask them, what do you mean by happy? And they might go within their own definition of happy or happiness. They might define a certain aspect of happiness that they want your answer to lie under, and then you give your answer. And so what that does is you taking your time to actually genuinely ask yourself, what do I think about that topic? Or what is the answer to that question? What do I think? Not what society thinks, not what the news thinks, not what your family thinks, not what your friends think. What do you think? What does Eden think when they ask me certain questions? What do I genuinely think? Without the fear of offending people or without the fear of judgment, and you were 100% honest within yourself and the person in front of you asking you these questions, what would you say? And what would your answers be? Because that's going to create more originality for you and your personality. Within content, I got a lot of my advice from Hamza, and the way I think about my content is quite similar to how he was explaining it. And in regards to learning how throughout the history of YouTube and throughout how many people have used Instagram and all that sort of thing and been successful in these media platforms, a lot of the things are that they set rules and guidelines of to what the attention span is and how you're meant to explain this and what you're meant to do here, but a lot of people break those rules anyway and still become successful. So there is no actual rule book on how to do content. The best way to do content is to do it your way and finding what you want to do that you feel passionate about, that you will love doing it for free, something that you will, because if you find something that you're passionate about and you do it for free, that's going to push you down the long run. Because when you see no statistics, when you see no views, when you see nothing happening within your content and you see no momentum, you might feel like slowing down. But if you truly love what you're doing, there is no reason to stop or reason to stop progressing anyway. So it's one of those things where when you fall back in within yourself, within content, you find out who do you want to be in front of the camera, what do you want to teach, what's your target audience, all this sort of thing. But in regards to that, if you are thinking about studying content, and you're thinking about trying to navigate what kind of niche you're going to be in or who you're going to be or whatever, and you're trying to be as original as possible, the best thing you can do is to take the steps and look like an idiot at first, have shitty videos backed up in your vault, and you just keep going, you just keep walking. You keep making videos, you keep speaking, or you keep doing vlogs, or you keep doing videos of you creating skateboards, or you make videos about painting, or you do anything, any content that you want to do, just do it. Just do what you love to do, but do it in front of the camera. And then what that's going to do is eventually you will find your originality. You will find who you are during the process, but you ain't gonna get anywhere if you just stay there in that same spot. So make sure you take the steps, make sure you post, make sure you practice your story as well. When you talk to people, people ask you who you are, what do you like to do, what are your hobbies, what are your goals, where you want to be in the future, all these kind of questions. If people ask you these questions, what's your story gonna be? Is it gonna be a boring explanation of who you are? Oh yeah, sometimes I like doing this, and I don't really care about this, but I kind of do it anyway, and I like to draw, but not really, and it's kind of boring. You want to, when someone asks you what your story is, or someone asks you who you are you going to be able to tell that story effectively? That's a big part of your originality. You being original, and everything is finding out what your story is. Who do you want to be? And the better you get at explaining that, the more confident you're going to be in yourself anyway as well. So, and I say it a lot in my videos, conversation is a form of manifestation. What you talk about with other people on your day-to-day life is very highly important. We think just the manifestations we say in the mirror are important. It's not only that, it's the conversations we have reliable people around us. Who are you talking to mostly in your life? What subjects are you talking about? How are you talking about them? Are you talking about other people? When you talk about other people, what way are you talking about other people? These little things matter, and people don't really take notice of the fact of some people's conversations during the day, when they're at work, when they're going to do this, when they're going to do that, when they go about their daily life. Some people don't even realize that most of their conversations are quite negative. They might bring themselves down without them realizing it. They'll bring other people down without them realizing it. They're not very conscious and aware of the conversations they're having during the day. But if you really reflect, me and myself, me and my boys, majority of the time, all we really talk about, sometimes we talk about God, sometimes we talk about a challenge that we went through, sometimes we talk about a goal that we have, sometimes we talk about achievement that we have gotten or done, something we're proud of ourselves for doing, or anything, a story that we've learned from. All of these are positive kind of topics and conversations that you could be having with your group or your boys or your friends or family or whatever. If your conversations are mostly negative, that's going to impact your affirmations that you're trying to uphold. You could be having the singular affirmations all you want, and you could still be successful with you just looking in the mirror and saying your own affirmations. I'm amazing, I am great, I am the best, whatever. Doing those will still work even with the negative conversations, but if you use them as a partnership and you use the conversations you have with people, which makes sense, with also your manifestations to your direct self, within the mirror, within when you talk to yourself in your room, whatever the case may be. Pairing those two up will create a more powerful manifestation towards the lifestyle and the goal that you want in your future. Use that. Remember that conversations are a form of manifestation, especially if you really want it to be. And like for me, it could be a habit that you might want to obtain. When people are talking about some bullshit and they're trying to say talk about some stuff that you don't really care about. When they're talking about stuff you don't care about, try your best to avoid the conversation. If you're at work and you're trying to do something and your workmate comes to you and starts ranting to you about something negative, say, hey brother, I just gotta go do this real quick, I'll be back in a second, and you go off and do your own thing. You avoid the conversation, but find a way to exit those kind of conversations that are going to drain your energy and also take away some of your spiritual energy towards your manifestations, because your brain doesn't have time for that. If you're someone with big high goals, if you're someone that is aspiring to get to a higher place in the world, if you don't have the best cards dealt with you now and these people are still trying to drag you down anyway, you don't have time for that. You can't have any leeway to let people drag you down, to let people ruin any chances of you making it to the destination that you want to get to. So you make sure that whoever's around you that are having those negative conversations, that are putting you down, putting themselves down in front of you, and you've tried to correct them, but I hate it to yourself, and then they still keep doing it, fucking leave them behind. Let them sort themselves out, let them help themselves out, and then maybe when they've grown up a bit, maybe they'll come back to you and they'll be a little more mature, more developed, more confident version of themselves, which you can't be there to pick them up all the time. You can't be there to hold them up and help them whenever they need it. So worry about your goals, worry about your future, because at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose. Sometimes people like to put their hand out and help other people, but if they're falling and you're trying to grab them and then you fall down too, you both die. It's a lose-lose. So make sure whoever you choose to help is, that it's in a smart situation, and it's for a very good reason. So, but don't be silly and be gullible to people that always are trying to ask you help, and you give them the help and they drag you down with them. So to be more original, just fall back into yourself. Use conversation as manifestation, because it really is. Be careful who you have conversations with. Learn to tell your story. Learn to say your story in a very powerful, confident way. I am this. I want to do this. The reason is this. It came from this at part of my childhood. I've continued to work in it for this long, and this is the vision. Whatever the blanks are within that sentence, you fill in the blanks. But it can be a very, very simple way to explain who you are. It can be very direct, very confident, and you'll get across what you want to say faster. So I hope this video helps you in any way possible. I appreciate you, I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.